on a hillside. I remember the school playground in October, when the sky was bright in a way that only childhood believes is permanent. When the trees were finally letting go, leaves drifting onto blacktop, and I running with arms outstretched to catch them. Autumn slipped from the branches, and for a second, it was mine. Inside, at my little wooden desk, with the chair bolted to the floor, the teacher asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Fourth grade class, 2 boys, 23 girls responded. 2 astronauts, and then around the room, nurse, veterinarian, nurse, veterinarian, nurse, veterinarian, nurse, veterinarian. Communist, Sister Claire. I didn't say it to be provocative. I said it because I couldn't understand full hands beside empty mouths, because even then, abundance without sharing already felt like theft. My parents weren't overtly political, weren't marching, but they listened. And instead of laughing, bought me what I wanted most, a red-colored Berlitz Learn Russian book. I practiced until I could write my name in Cyrillic. If you're going to imagine another world, you should at least learn the language. 5th grade, my questions hadn't softened. Another gift arrived, a subscription to Soviet life, large and glossy, full of photos of people and tractors, rockets and tractors, Brezhnev and tractors, teaching me about a place most adults only spoke of in mornings. I knew the world was bigger than the classroom, bigger than the playground, bigger than answers that were considered acceptable. I learned to look for what was missing, what was being kept out, what was being decided for us before we were old enough to ask why. By college, the questions demanded geography, while others aimed for Paris or Rome, places with postcards and permission. I, studying German, went east to the German Democratic Republic to feel socialism in my soul, to study the shadows of World War II, not the polished West, but the Germany still marked by its past. I wrote to the East German embassy, appealing to a country that wasn't supposed to want me, where no one spoke English, asking if I could live there, study there, cross the line there, not as a tourist, but as a human willing to listen, willing to be shaped by it, instead of protected from it, and somehow they said yes. I became a student at Bauhaus University in Weimar, a city that refuses to resolve itself, a city where life and death share the same address, where Goethe worked and wrote and dreamed in one direction, and concentration camp Buchenwald loomed in another, close enough that the wind could carry the truth between them. In Weimar, culture is not a decoration, it is a warning. Poetry and brutality are not separate chapters, but layers of the same ground. I believed location mattered, that standing in the place itself, breathing its air, walking its streets, might teach me something no textbook could, about what societies choose to remember and what they choose to forget. And somehow, inside that contradiction, I fell in love. With the country, with the people, with a way of living where care mattered more than acquiring, with the absence of that American hum, the low electric buzz that says, buy this, want more, hurry up, prove yourself, drilling into the body before you know it has a sound. No blazing billboards shouting at the sky, no neon insisting on desire. Instead, beautiful books made affordable, so reading wasn't a luxury or a sign of class, but simply part of life, something everyone had access to, because thinking was considered a public good. What stays with me? Walking alone at 3 a.m. and feeling safe in a way that would have been unthinkable at home, where fear didn't constantly train your body as a woman to be alert, to be suspicious, to be prepared to flee. What stays with me? Soviet soldiers, polite and gentle in grocery stores, gesturing for me to go ahead in line, smiling when I tried my limited Russian. Ordinary kindness repeated so often it stopped feeling exceptional. What stays with me? Mothers leaving baby carriages outside shops, babies still inside them, sleeping, breathing, waiting. What stays with me? That was the level of trust, where theft wasn't feared because it wasn't imagined. That was the level of trust. Not announced, not defended, just lived. And once your body learns what it feels like to move without bracing for harm, it becomes very hard to believe the story that tells you this was a lie. And then there was Buchenwald. The first time I saw it, the clock tower held me. 4 faces marking time for lives counted in stolen minutes. Each tick a reminder of every moment left. It wasn't the barracks or the gates that struck me, but the flowers, growing in large clusters, scattered, bright and alive. I asked why they grew so vividly. Mass graves, the soil rich because mothers, fathers, and children were buried there, their destruction fertilizer for future generations, asking you to understand beauty not as innocence, but as consequence, as something that can emerge from unimaginable violence without asking forgiveness. The camp sat on a hillside, beech trees standing in rows, as if still listening for orders. And if you looked past the barbed wire, down the hillside, you glimpsed the valley, peaceful, green, the National Theater, places where Bach and Kandinsky and other creators lived for centuries, where culture flourished as extermination was being engineered just uphill. And you learned quickly that beauty and intelligence do not cancel violence, but are part of it. That the same hands are capable of the highest ideals and the lowest acts, sometimes in the same lifetime, sometimes in the same week, sometimes in the same day. That proximity never leaves you. Nietzsche in one direction, ovens in the other. Beauty and annihilation sharing the same air, the same history, refusing the comfort of distance. I returned year after year, not to master it, but as a place that would not let go of me. And over time, Weimar shaped my future, the way I think about power, about systems, about how easily culture and society can coexist with brutality. Coming back to America felt like an assault, stepping into a room where everyone was shouting at once, commercials screaming, advertisements following you like a second shadow, people looking without seeing each other, eyes sliding past faces toward screens, toward the next novelty of the next minute. Yet, they said, tear down this wall, the way people say things they've already decided are holy, the way slogans become substitutes for thinking. They said, tear down this wall like it was a moral miracle, like history could be written with a sledgehammer in a press conference. They said, tear down this wall with Reagan's version of freedom hiding behind it, stretching, waiting for its big reveal. And when the wall fell, it wasn't freedom that crossed the border, it was capital. Breathless, confident, already calculating how much everything would be worth once it had been rebranded, privatized, and leased back to the people who used to call it home. And when the wall fell, in its place rose a global machine that eats people softly, smiles while it does, and calls the sound of bones breaking, not violence, not loss, not theft, but economic growth. And when the wall fell, in came the language of opportunity, spoken fluently by those who already owned the dictionary. And factories rose where ideals once lived. And standing here now in America, I recognize that sound again. I hear it in the rhetoric that repeats itself. Security, freedom, and the way violence becomes administrative, procedural, while families disappear, while raids in neighborhoods occur like a weather pattern, while we are told not to interrupt the narrative. This is how it happens. Not all at once, but with talking points. Crowds nodding because it's more comforting to believe the story you're being told. Destruction doesn't always announce itself as destruction. Sometimes it arrives as progress. Sometimes it asks you to clap. Sometimes it wears a flag. I have stood in that place before, on a hillside, learning how easy it was to look away and still call yourself civilized. Oh, that's it.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Keep it going.